What if I told you that one of the most quoted, most beloved cult films of all time was a total box office flop when it came out? That it was inspired by a real-life dude who actually lived the laid-back legend, from outrageous casting choices to bizarre behind-the-scenes moments and the hilarious secrets you never spotted. This isn't just another movie breakdown. This is the Big Lebowski 1998. 20 weird facts you didn't know. Grab your White Russian, settle in, and let's roll. The dude abides, will you? Before the Coen brothers wrote a single scene, they already knew who the dude was because they'd met him. His name was Jeff Dowd, a shaggy, big-hearted movie promoter who had helped the Coens distribute their first film, Blood Simple. In the 1960s, Dowd had been part of a radical political group known as the Seattle Seven, the same group Walter Sobchak yells about in the bowling alley meltdown scene. But it wasn't Dowd's political past that fascinated the Coens, it was his vibe. He wore flip-flops to meetings, drank White Russians in the middle of the day, rambled through long stories that went nowhere, and introduced himself to people simply as the dude. When the Big Lebowski came out, Dowd didn't feel insulted. He embraced it, attending Lebowski Fests, signing autographs and laughing with fans, while others were quoting the movie. Dowd was just being himself. The Coens built the Big Lebowski like a Raymond Chandler detective story full of twists, red herrings, and strange characters. But instead of a sharp-eyed detective, they gave us the dude, a man with no urgency, no clues, and only vibes to guide him. That was the genius. The dude wasn't solving the mystery, he was the mystery. A passive figure drifting through a nonsensical world, untouchable in his own way. Casting the film brought its own share of strange twists for the elder Lebowski. The Coens once joked about casting Marlon Brando, a wheelchair-bound, velvet-draped tyrant who would thunder about bums like he was delivering the Gettysburg Address. Brando, in poor health, never pursued the role, and losing him turned out to be a blessing. Instead, the part went to David Huddleston, who played the blustery fraud without trying to elevate him into greatness. In a movie full of people pretending to be something they weren't, the elder Lebowski was the perfect blowhard. Jeff Bridges didn't just play the dude, he embodied him. He brought his own wardrobe to set, including the iconic sweater, jelly sandals, and sunglasses. Before each take, Bridges would ask the Coens, "Did the dude burn one on the way here?" If they said yes, he'd rub his eyes, mess up his hair, and slump into character. It wasn't method acting, it was pure comfort, and that comfort became iconic. Some of the most unforgettable moments came from the supporting cast. John Turturro's portrayal of Jesus Quintana lasted only a few minutes on screen, but every second was unforgettable. The purple jumpsuit, the hairnet, the ball licking, it was all Turturro's creation. He even pitched the Coens the idea that Jesus should be a registered sex offender, giving the character a darker undertone that explained his flamboyant overconfidence. Tara Reid won the role of Bunny Lebowski by walking into her audition and delivering her infamous line with fearless chaos, outshining bigger names like Cameron Diaz and Charlize Theron. Julianne Moore's Maud spoke in surreal feminist riddles that even Moore didn't understand until the Coens told her, "Don't worry, just sound like you do." It worked, and Maud became a piece of living performance art. The film's legacy is built on small moments that became legends. In one scene, Walter Sobchak smashes a car with a crowbar while screaming an explicit line. For television broadcasts, the dialogue had to be changed, resulting in the bizarre but unforgettable, "Do you see what happens, Larry, when you find a stranger in the Alps?" The nonsense stuck in pop culture, even inspiring Phoebe Bridgers to name her debut album after it. Another unforgettable detail was the fake toe, painted with chipped nail polish and sealed in a bandage. Test audiences squirmed, but the Coens kept it in, turning absurdity into menace. And the Rolling Stones' song Dead Flowers, which plays over the credits, almost didn't happen. Music rights were going to cost $150,000 until Alan Klein, the executive controlling the song, saw the "I hate the Eagles" man line. Still bitter about the Stones being compared to the Eagles, Klein gave them the song for free. Walter Sobchak himself was based onto real people. John Milius, the gun-loving, outspoken screenwriter of Apocalypse Now, and a Vietnam veteran friend of John Goodman. Yet here's the twist: the movie never confirms Walter was actually a veteran. His war stories are vague and inconsistent, hinting that he may have just convinced himself it was true. And Donnie, played by Steve Buscemi, became a tragic running joke constantly cut off and ignored until his death. Buscemi admitted the role made him feel invisible, but the Coens explained that was the point. Donnie was the guy no one listened to until he was gone, making his absence all the more painful. The film's soul came in the form of Sam Elliott as the stranger, the cowboy narrator who wasn't in the original script. Added late in the process, he gave the story a calm, mythic anchor. He didn't solve anything, but his line, "The dude abides," became a cultural phenomenon. It was quoted in sermons, printed on campaign posters, tattooed on fans, and even inspired an actual religion. By 2005, Duddyism was a registered faith, a laid-back philosophy of peace, nonviolence, and bowling. When The Big Lebowski hit theaters in 1998, it wasn't the cultural juggernaut people know today. It was a flop, with a production budget of $15 million and a worldwide gross of only $17 million. The film barely covered its costs. Critics were just as unimpressed. Many dismissed it as aimless, messy, and indulgent. Even Roger Ebert, a longtime supporter of the Coen brothers, gave it a lukewarm review, noting its odd pacing and unconventional storytelling. At the time, it seemed destined to be nothing more than a quirky misfire in the Coens' otherwise celebrated career. But here's the thing: the Big Lebowski was never built for opening weekend. It wasn't the kind of movie designed to sweep the box office or win over critics with conventional structure. Slowly, away from the glare of theatrical release, the film began to find its audience. The late 90s and early 2000s saw the rise of DVD collections, late-night cable programming, and a growing appetite for offbeat humor. On dorm room TVs and living room couches, the movie played over and over again. People started quoting it, repeating its lines until they became private in jokes among friends. That rug really tied the room together became a knowing wink. The dude abides evolved into a mantra. Characters who had seemed strange or pointless to casual moviegoers took on new life. For devoted fans, the dude, Walter Sobchak, Donnie, Maud, and even Jesus Queen Tana became archetype symbols of something larger than themselves. The film's randomness transformed into charm. Its meandering plot became a feature, not a flaw. It was no longer about the mystery. At the center of the story, it was about the absurd, chaotic journey. Years after his initial review, Ebert revisited The Big Lebowski and completely changed his tune, calling it one of the most inspired films of our time. By 2014, its transformation from oddball comedy to cultural icon was complete. That year, the U.S. Library of Congress officially recognized The Big Lebowski as culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant, preserving it forever in the National Film Registry alongside classics like Casablanca and Citizen Kane. The cult following wasn't limited to home viewing. In 2002, to fans from Louisville, Kentucky decided to host a one-night tribute to the film. They expected maybe a dozen people to show up. Instead, hundreds of devoted Lebowski lovers poured in, some dressed as marmots, others as nihilists, and a few in full Maud Viking helmet regalia. They bowled, reenacted scenes, held trivia contests, and even tossed confetti to represent Donnie's ashes. That modest tribute became the first ever Lebowski Fest, now an annual tradition drawing fans from around the globe. One year, Jeff Bridges himself showed up, played music, hugged fans, and told the crowd, "You're all dudes to me." Amid all the fandom and quoting, one of the movie's most subtle running gags is often overlooked: the dude never actually bowls. For a film that spends so much time in a bowling alley, the Coens cut away every single time he's about to throw the ball. You never see a strike, a spare, or even a gutter ball. The choice was deliberate. The movie was never about winning or losing. It was about showing up, drifting through the madness, and trying to keep your robe closed in an unpredictable world. The dude wasn't a champion. He wasn't even really playing the game. But somehow, in doing nothing, he became everything. And that's the abiding magic of the Big Lebowski. It's not about the destination, the score, or the trophy. It's about the journey, the quirks, the mistakes, and the strange little details that tie it all together. From flop to phenomenon, the Big Lebowski rolled into history on its own terms. No rules, no rush, just a bathrobe, a drink, and a vibe that still inspires. So if this story tied your room together, hit like, share it with fellow dudes, and subscribe. After all, the dude abides, and so should you. Thanks for watching.